So, okay, they say that first impressions matter and that first impressions actually last for a really long time. It's kind of like going on a first date. It's actually that first meeting, that first interaction that you try to use to actually put your best foot forward in order to leave the other person just begging for more. So you end up, possibly scoring a second date and so on. Well, I decided to give the Google Pixel 7 Pro the opportunity to leave that positive, lasting first impression. And after a couple of months, I have to say the Pixel 7 Pro has really left me with a great first impressions. Now, hear me out. There were so many errors that Google actually got right with the Pixel 7 Pro. And in this video, I want to actually pinpoint and talk a little bit about some of those errors that really impressed me and that got me, second guessing my relationship with my iPhone 13 Pro. Let's talk about it. Okay, so firstly, looks are pretty important. I mean, you might want to call me a bit shallow, but hey, let's be honest, it's the first thing that everyone sees, and the design of the Pixel 7 Pro, I'm a huge fan of. I mean, look at it. It's a gorgeous smartphone, especially in the snow color that I chose. I think it actually contrasts really nicely with the silver color used as the full width camera bar, or the camera visor as some would call it, that actually wraps around and blends to the frame of the phone, which gives it this really elegant and professional look. Come on, you have to give it to the design team over there by Google. They actually did their homework, and it really seemed as if some real thought process has went into the overall design of this smartphone. Now I'm glad it actually doesn't look like any of the competition out right now, which makes the Pixel 7 Pro quite iconic in my opinion. The backside of the phone is super glossy, which means yes, you're really gonna be quite prone to attracting a lot of fingerprints, which isn't actually so apparent on the much lighter color Pixel 7, and can also be a bit slippery to touch, so definitely bear that in mind. Now, even though the glass material on the Pixel 7 Pro is the strong Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, I still really recommend protecting your investment by slapping a case on the device. Now, I personally picked up and have been using this D-brand skin and added this really awesome looking holographic skin, and that's actually how I've been rocking my Pixel 7 Pro. Now, I also personally loved the position, really loved the position of the side buttons that actually weren't too high or too low and made the device pretty easy to maneuver with one hand. Returning to the front of the device and taking a look at the display, it's a beautiful 6.7-inch 1440p Quad HD OLED display that uses an LTPO panel, which means display allows for variable refresh rate from 10 Hz all the way up to 120 Hz, which actually should help to save on battery life. It's a pretty bright screen also, with a max peak brightness of 1500 nits, so everything pretty much looks great on it, no issues, even in outdoor settings. Colors are vivid, viewing angles are really good, the bezels on the side and the top are really minimal. The display doesn't curve too much to the edge. The earpiece on the top blends in really nice into the frame of the device and double as a secondary speaker also, which actually is really barely noticeable. So yeah, it's just really a fantastic display overall. Now, is it the best that I've ever seen? No, but I'm still quite impressed with what the Pixel display has to offer. So now let's switch gears a bit and talk about what's actually powering this device. And that's Google's very own Tensor G2. Now, Google's upgraded second generation processor is actually supposed to be dramatically faster and even more efficient than the first generation. No, I've never owned or tried the Pixel 6, which actually had the first generation Tensor, but based on my research, it was pretty decent, so I had expectations, and as expected, the performance for my everyday tasks that I've found so far has been pretty on par, spot on, no issues. But the real test of the Tensor G2 I found really came down to the processing of photos and videos as well as gaming. Now, I did a 1-hour gaming session on the device and it did not overheat at any point. So it's actually a very promising look for Google's Tensor G2 so far. Of course, in a more long-term situation, we'll see how the performance fares out after actually pushing this device to its limit. Okay, so we've talked about and looked at the build and design, the display and the performance of the Pixel 7 Pro. But let's actually turn our focus to what Google Pixel smartphones are really known for, and that's of course their cameras. So on paper, the camera modules of the Pixel 7 Pro doesn't seem to really differ that much from the previous generation. We have a set of 3 lenses, most notably the 48 megapixel telephoto camera, which is now capable of capturing images with 5x optical zoom. The 50 megapixel main lens, meanwhile, is actually capable of capturing 12 megapixel images via the pixel binning technique. And finally, the ultra wide angle camera is now at 12 megapixel, which has a f2.2 aperture and a 1.25 micron pixel size with a 125-degree field of view. Now, this component has actually been slightly upgraded where it features autofocus and captures macro images, which I believe is exclusive to the Pixel 7 Pro at a higher quality. In front, we have a 10.8 megapixel sensor with the option of an ultra wide angle field of view. This same camera is actually the one used for the screen unlock function via facial recognition. So, how do the images look coming from the Pixel 7 Pro? In well-lit environments, images taken with the Pixel 7 Pro's camera are sharp, with balanced colors and brightness, and even with heavy background image processing, the end product remains natural to my eyes. At night, features such as the dedicated night sight mode are eye-catching, and I really liked it because instead of, creating just a brighter picture, the Google solution instead increases the contrast in the images via computer processing, which creates really beautiful shots at night. I also love the real tone feature that actually helps to retain the natural color of the skin. Not only do the photos look better in most instances than what some of the other phones around that price actually offers, but also there are a lot of things you could do with the software. Now, when it comes to capturing video on the Pixel 7 Pro, both the rear and the front cameras are capable of capturing 4K videos at 30 and 60 frames per second, with the rear cameras also being able to capture 1080 video at 30 and 60 frames per second. So yeah, unfortunately, no 24 frames per second for all those guys looking for that cinematic video. And the video quality coming from the Pixel 7 Pro, in my opinion, isn't bad, to be fair. And I still say the iPhone is still king in this area. Now, I have not been able to actually test and use the cameras to their fullest capabilities, but I will be doing a dedicated camera review and comparison, putting the Pixel 7 Pro up against some of its competition out there. So definitely get subscribed to the channel if you haven't done so as yet, so you'll be the first to know when those videos are live on the channel. But in my limited testing, I can definitely say Google's camera's sorcery on the Pixel 7 Pro seems to still be working. But finally, the battery performance here on the Pixel 7 Pro has been surprisingly impressive. This is the part that really surprised me about my entire experience with the Pixel 7 Pro. The 5000 milliamp hour battery here in the device actually manages to last me an entire day with ease. I average roughly over 5 hours of screen on time, and that's actually usually spread out over around an 18-hour period, with the battery never falling below 20% at all. So at no point was I actually running into any form of battery anxiety, and even with heavy use, the Pixel 7 Pro actually managed to last me a full day. But on the flip side though, when it comes on to the charging of the device, it's only capable of charging at 30 watts wired and 23 watts wireless, along with the 5 watt reverse wireless charging. By the way, comment below and let me know when was the last time you guys actually have used the reverse wireless feature. Now, I personally can't even remember using this feature on any of my smartphones, but I'm curious to know if this happens to be the same for you. Let me know down in the comment section below. Either way, when it actually comes to the charging speed of the Pixel 7 Pro, it's gonna actually take roughly around 30 minutes to get up to that 50% mark, and takes just over maybe an hour and a half to actually hit that full charge. Yeah, that really kind of sucks and is kind of a drawback for me, in my opinion. Certainly not a deal breaker though, as we see the likes of Samsung and even Apple's iPhones pretty much, bringing in similar numbers. But overall, for the money, my final thoughts after my first impressions with the Pixel 7 Pro after a couple of months, I really don't think there is a better flagship phone regardless of the platform right now, despite some shortcomings that I found, like a really weird and annoying issue with the screen whenever I'm scrolling, which I'll actually talk a bit more in my full review. But in some ways, the Pixel 7 Pro still, in my opinion, punches above its weight. It'll actually be really interesting to see how Google handles major operating system updates with the Tensor line, since they are no longer actually bound by Qualcomm Android support. This is an area I personally believe and hope where Google could really leapfrog the competition and really compete with the likes of Apple. So, my initial impressions are very high, and we'll definitely see what the future actually holds for the Pixel 7 Pro. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks so much for watching to the end. And if you actually did, in fact, made it to the end and found this video helpful, then please go ahead, hit that like button so the video actually gets suggested to more people. Remember to also subscribe to the channel if you like content like this and you actually want to be a part of this amazing community. I'm actually always happy to welcome new people here on the channel. But thanks again for the usual support, and Happy New Year. It's great to be back, and I'll see you guys definitely for sure in my next upload.